Guruve Gauri Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha. Vande Guru Isha Bhaktan Ishan Isha Avatarakan Tat Prakasham Satat Shakti Krishna Chaitanya Sangyakam Granthera Arambha Kori Mangala Charana Guru Vaishnava Bhagavan Tinera Smarana Hoy Vighana Vinashana Anayase Safalahai Nija Vanchita Purana Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, dear worshipable devotees, thank you so much for joining. We are reading Granth-raj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and Caitanya-Caritāmṛta first before the Bhagavatam. So we are reading about Adi-lila from Adi-lila chapter 1, text number 65. So yesterday we read about the devotees of Lord. Krishna stays in their heart and the devotees stay in the heart of the Lord. Devotees don't think anything but Krishna, and Krishna does not think anything but devotees. That's the wonderful reciprocal relationship between the Lord and his wonderful devotees. So now, one day, Guru, we discussed about the Gurus, the spiritual master, Isha Bhaktan, devotees, we discussed about devotees till text 64, Isha Avatara. Now we'll talk about the avataras or incarnations from text 65 onwards. So let's study these set of verses. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Ishvarera etina prakara amsha avatara or guna avatara shaktavesh avatara triteya mata amsha avatara purusha matsyadika yata. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. There are three categories of incarnations of Godhead: partial incarnations, qualitative incarnations, and empowered incarnations. The Purushas and the Matsya are examples of partial incarnations. Hare Krishna. So we discussed about the devotees, the two categories of devotees, parishtas and sadhakas. We discussed about the different categories of Guru, Chaitya Guru, Supreme Lord, the Shiksha Guru, the Diksha Guru, etc. Now we're talking about the avataras. Three main categories: Amsha avataras and or partial. Amsha means partial. Amsha avataras, Guna avataras. Guna means qualities or qualitative incarnations. And then Shakta Vesha avataras. Shakti. Shakti means special empowerment. So those specially empowered by the Lord, empowered incarnations. So in this verse, there is example of Amsha avataras. That is, the Purusha avataras, referring to the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, and Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Karanodakshaya Vishnu, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. And also the Leela avataras also come in this category or a subcategory. So Purusha, Matsya Adi. Matsya Adi means Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vamana, etc. So Matsya, Kurma, what are the main examples here? They are referred to as Leela avatars. They come for a specific Leela. And like Kurma avatar came for stabilizing the golden mountain during the churning of the ocean. Similarly, Varahadev came to destroy, to bring the earth back to its position and kill Hiranyaksha. So this is the 3 types of avataras and the few examples of Amsha avataras. Let's read the next verse, 67. Anyone wants to read? Sampada Mataji, want to read? Lakshya, please.
Yes, Prabhuji. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, Tina Guna Vatare, Gani Sakti Avasya, Sanakadi Pritu Vyasamuni. Translation. Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva are qualitative incarnations, and power incarnations are those like the Kumaras, King Prithu, and Mahamuni Vyasa, the compiler of the Vedas. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Lakshya Prabhu. So this verse talks about the next 2 categories, that is the qualitative incarnations, the guna avatara. The 3 gunas are goodness, passion, and ignorance. So the Supreme Lord, the Vishnu in charge of mode of goodness, Brahma the mode of passion, and Lord Shiva in charge of mode of ignorance, the destruction. The ignorance means destruction. Goodness or passion, creation. Brahma is in charge of creation, and Lord Vishnu takes the most difficult task, maintenance. Maintaining anything is very difficult. Starting is very easy. Stopping is also easy. So goodness, passion, and ignorance. And then here, the next is the empowered incarnations, or Shakta Vesha. Shakti ka Avesh. The Lord gives. So these are the Jiva Tattvas, whom the Lord gives special potency. Like so many examples are there. Vyasadeva, the 4 Kumaras, King Prathu, Narad Muni, and there are different Shaktis, like Bhakti Shakti, Narad Muni, the Shakti of being a ruler, Prithu Maharaj, etc. There are different Shaktis. Prabhupada also is a Shaktavesh Avatara, because who can do it without the empowerment of the Supreme Lord? It's not an ordinary thing to preach all over the world. So Prabhupada certainly is a Shaktavesh Avatara who has been specially empowered by the Supreme Lord, given that special potency to preach the message of bhakti throughout the world. So Shaktavesh Avatara, Kumaras, Prithu, Vyasa, etc. Let's read the next verse, 68. Anyone wants to read?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Yes, please.
Hare Krishna devotees, Dandavat Pranam, all glories to Śrīla Prabhupada. Text 68. দুই রূপে হয় ভগবানের প্রকাশ, একে তো প্রকাশ হয় আরে তো বিলাস. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace S.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Śrīla Prabhupada Vijaya. The person of Godhead exhibit himself in 2 kinds of forms, Prakash and Vilas. The purport: the Supreme Lord expands his personal forms in 2 primary categories. The Prakash forms are manifested by Lord Krishna for his pastimes, and their features are exactly like his. When Lord Krishna married 16,000 queens in Dwaraka, he did so in 16,000 Prakash expansions. Similarly, during the Rasa dance, he expanded himself in identical Prakash forms to dance beside each and every gopi simultaneously. When the Lord manifests his Vilas expansions, however, they are all somewhat defined in their bodily features. Lord Balaram is the first vilasa expansion of Lord Krishna, and the four-handed Narayan forms in Vaikuntha expand from Balaram. There is no difference between the bodily features of Sri Krishna and Balaram except that their body colors are different. Similarly, Sri Narayan in Vaikuntha has four hands, whereas Krishna has only two. The expressions of the Lord who manifest such bodily differences are known as vilasa, vigraha. So here we see that Lord expansion or incarnations like two types, Prakash and Vilas. If he keeps the same form as Krishna does in the Golok Vrindavan, then it is called Prakash, that he did with his queens, 16 queens, and in the Rasa dance. So it looks like all the gopis are dancing with the same Krishna. They're thinking that dancing along with the Krishna. No change in the form of the Krishna who is dancing also with Radharani. But in the village forms, something will be different, like Balaramji different by colors, Narayan different by four hands, and totally different Lord Narasimha, Bhara. So here the clearly explain how Krishna manifests himself as a Prakash and Vilas, two types of expansions. Back to Prabhuji, Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you so much. Very nice that you mentioned this point, Prakash and Vilas expansion. So we'll continue to read more about these. Let's study next verse. Yes, Sampada Mataji, want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Ekai vigraha yati haya bahurupa akare tabheda nahi ekai swarupa mai si vibhave yaiche kaila rasa ihake kahiye krishnera mukhya prakasa. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada ki jai. When the personality of Godhead expands himself in many forms, all non-different in their features, as Lord Krishna did when he married 16,000 queens and when he performed his Rasa dance, such forms of the Lord are called manifested forms, prakasa vigrahas. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, back to you.
Hare Krishna. So I think we just discussed this point. So in the prakasha forms, what is common? Ekai vigraha yadi haya bahurupa akare te abheda nahi. Akare ta bhed nahi. Eki swarupa. That means there is no difference in the bodily form or akar. So when Krishna married Mahishi Vivahe Yaiche Kaila Rasa. So the example is given of the 16,000 queens. It was the same Krishna expanded himself into 16,000 forms. And no one could tell what's the difference in the 16,000th Krishna or 1,000th Krishna or 12,049th Krishna. Exactly same. Can any of us do that? No. Only Krishna can do that. So for those who say, oh, Krishna married 16,000 queens, we should tell them that he could expand himself as it is in 16,000 forms. Can any Tom, Dick, Harry do that? No. And when he also performed the Rasa dance, we may have seen some pictures somewhere, paintings, etc. So the same Krishna dancing with thousands of gopis, Prakasha Leela, Prakasha Vigrahas. So let's see. Next verse, 71. Yes, Raghu Prabhu, you want to read?
Yes, I can read. Thank you. Hare Krishna to text 71. Chitram bhatte tad ekena vapusha yuga pratak graheshu Dvi Ashta Sahasram Striya Eka Udavahat. Translation and purport by Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. It is astounding that Lord Sri Krishna, who is one without a second, expanded himself in 16,000 similar forms to marry 16,000 queens in their respective homes. Okay, this verse is from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:69-2. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. So as we were talking, there are lots and lots of verses here from the Bhagavatam, right? 10.69.2. Let's see if I'm just quickly checking if there's a purport over there. So yeah, there is a brief purport here. So maybe we can read this.
I can read it, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll read the translation and quickly the purport as well.
Okay. Sukadev Goswami said, hearing that Lord Krishna had killed Narkasura and had alone married many brides, Narad Muni desired to see the Lord in this situation. He thought it is quite amazing that in a single body, Lord Krishna simultaneously married 16,000 women, each in a separate place, each in a separate palace. Thus the sage of the demigods eagerly went to Dwarka. The city was filled with sounds of birds and bees flying about the parks and pleasure gardens, while its lakes crowded with blooming Indivara, Amboja, Kahalara, Kamuda, and Utpala lotuses resounded with the calls of swans and cranes. Dwarka boasted 900,000 royal palaces, all constructed with crystal and silver and splendorously decorated with huge emeralds. Inside these palaces, the furniture were bedecked with gold and jewels. Traffic moved along a well laid out system of boulevards, roads, intersections, and marketplaces, and many assembly houses and temples of demigods graced this charming city. The roads, courtyards, commercial streets, and residential patios were all sprinkled with water and shaded from the sun's heat by banners waving from flagpoles. Purport. In Krishna's Srila Prabhupada beautifully describes the city of Dwarka as follows. Being inquisitive as to how Krishna was managing his household affairs with so many wives, Narada desired to see these pastimes and so set out to visit Krishna's different homes. When Narada arrived in Dwarka, he saw that the gardens and parks were full of various flowers of different colors and orchards that were overloaded with a variety of fruits. Beautiful birds were chirping, and peacocks were delightfully crowing. There were tanks and ponds full of blue and red lotus flowers, and some of these sites were filled with varieties of lilies. The lakes were full of nice swans and cranes, whose voices resounded elsewhere. In the city, there were as many as 900,000 great palaces built of first class marble with jewels such as touchstone, sapphires, and emeralds, and the floors gave off a beautiful luster. The highways, lanes, streets, crossings, and marketplaces were all beautifully decorated. The whole city was full of residential homes, assembly houses, and temples, all of different architectural beauty. All of this made Dwarka a glowing city. The big avenues, crossings, lanes, and streets and also the thresholds of every residential house were very clean. On both sides of every path there were bushes, and at regular intervals there were large trees that shaded the avenues so that the sunshine would not bother the passers-by. So the city of Dwarka, Prabhupada is describing it here, looks like a very idyllic place, very well laid out city, lot of nice gardens and flowers and beautifully lined streets, very thoughtfully laid out also with trees providing the shade to all the inhabitants whenever they walked. So a very nice city, very nice, beautiful description. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. 900,000 palaces for the queens. Can we imagine? That only Krishna can do in his prakasha form. Same bodily features. That is called prakasha vigraha. He would be personally present in all those palaces with all those queens simultaneously. So this is verse from Bhagavatam. Let's keep on reading the next verse. 72. Yes, Babu Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Rasotsva sampravarto gopi mandala mandita yogeshwarena krishnena tasam madhye dvayo. Translation: when Lord Krishna, surrounded by groups of cowherd girls, began the festivals of Rasa dance, the Lord of all mystic powers placed himself between each two girls. Purport: this verse is also quoted from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10.33.3. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. So again, this verse from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Let's read the purport over there. There is no purport in the Caitanya-Caritāmṛta, but there is a purport in the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. So 10:33:3. Looks like the verse here is just the verse number 72 is only a piece of the third verse. So the actual verse has 5 lines actually, but nonetheless we will read this to understand this aspect. Would someone like to read the translation and purport?
I can read, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Translation. The festive Rasa dance commenced with the gopis arrayed in a circle. Lord Krishna expanded himself and entered between each pair of gopis. And as that master of mystic power placed his arms around their necks, each girl thought he was standing next to her alone. The demigods and their wives were overwhelmed with eagerness to witness the Rasa dance, and they soon crowded the sky with their hundreds of celestial airplanes. Purport: Srila Billamangala Thakur has written the following verse about the Rasa dance. Anganam Anganam Antara Madhavo Madhavam Madhavam Chantarenanganaha Itham Akalpita Mandale Madhyagaha Sanjagao Venuna Devaki Nandanaha. Lord Madhava was situated between each pair of gopis, and a gopi was situated between each pair of his manifestations. And Sri Krishna, the son of Devaki, also appeared in the middle of the circle, playing upon his flute and singing. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the gopis, maddened by love, were unable to understand that Sri Krishna had expanded himself so he could personally dance with each of them. Each gopi saw one manifestation of Krishna. The demigods and their wives, however, could see all his different manifestations as they watched the Rasa dance from their airplanes, and thus they were completely astonished. So here, this translation and purport in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining so nicely about the Rasa-lila of Lord Sri Krishna with his gopis, who never want to be separated from Krishna. They are always cry when they feel separation from Krishna. And this Rasa-lila, it's make me remember about Lord Shiva, who was also become become a gopi to witness this beautiful Rasa-lila of Lord Krishna. And that's why he called Gopishvara Mahadev. And it's still in Vrindavan, they need permission to visit to enter the Vrindavan from Gopishvara Mahadev, who is the gatekeeper, who was the gatekeeper for this Krishna's pastime in the Rasa-lila. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I think most of you may have seen this picture. So Krishna was parallelly present simultaneously between every gopi, and the demigods on their celestial planes are witnessing and showering flowers. So very, very transcendental pastime of the Supreme Lord, which ordinary people should not try to imitate, but less intelligent people kind of dare to comment, oh, if the Lord can have multiple wives or the multiple gopis, why can't me? Then we should tell them first to lift Govardhan Hill for 7 minutes, or forget about Govardhan Hill, just lift your own hand for 7 hours like this. Just keep your hand up for 7 hours. If you can do that, then we'll talk further. But to speak of 7 hours, just for keeping 7 minutes, it becomes difficult to keep the hands up straight, right? So we'll quickly read 75, these 1 or 2 more verses, because the Prakasha Vigraha section, let's complete that since we are talking about Prakasha Vigraha. So here we just read 72. Let's read the 3 and 4. Anyone wants to read? Sudhir Prabhu, you want to read?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I can read. Pravistena grahitanam kantesva nikhatam striya yam manyeran nabhastvad vimana sata sakulam dviyukasamsa dharanam ati sukhya bhartamanam tato dhundubhyo nedur netu pushpa vastyaya. Translation and purport by Steve and Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. When the cowherd girls and Krishna thus joined together, each girl thought that Krishna was dearly embracing her alone. To behold this wonderful pastime of the Lords, the denizens of heaven and their wives, all very eager to see the dance, flew in the sky in their hundreds of airplanes. They showered flowers and beat sweetly on drums. Perfect. This is another quotation from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 10:33, 3 and 4. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Back to you.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think we just saw their celestial planes, the denizens of heavens. They were kind of celebrating this Rasa dance festival by spectating. So 75, and then we will move on. Anyone wants to read 75?
I can read, Prabhu. Hare Krishna Dandavana. Text 75. Anekatra prakatata rupasya kasya yekada sarvata tata swarupaiva sa prakasha itreyate. Translation and purport by Divine Graces Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. If numerous forms, all equal in their features, are displayed simultaneously, such forms are called prakasha, vigrahas of the Lord. Report this is a quotation from the Laghu Bhagavatam 1.21, compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Thank you, Prabhu. Back to you.
Hare Krishna. So I think the point is quite clear. What is the prakasha vigraha? And the two examples which are shared here, the Varka Lila with the queens and the Rasa Lila with the gopis. So anyone thinking of other examples where Krishna expanded himself in the same form? In the
same form, Prabhuji.
Yes, that's what we are discussing. The Prakasha Leelas in the same form, like in Dwarka or in the. Okay, think about it.
Prabhuji, maybe not the same, but when Brahma stole all the gopis, then Krishna becomes himself expanded as the Gopa boys, and their mother loved them. For 1 year, Brahma kept those Gopa boys.
Yes. In that Krishna expanded, but as different, the form was different, right?
Oh yeah, the Gopi boys. I mean the gopis.
Gopa boys,
yeah.
Not the gopis, the cowherd boys, gopas.
Boys. Yeah.
So think about it and share tomorrow. That's a homework.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, I wanted to add, when Krishna was about to marry, after Satyabhama, he married like 5 different queens. So in one of the pastime, he expanded himself into 7 form to defeat those 7 bulls. So that was also mentioned in Bhagavatam. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mataji. Okay, so now we will read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam